should be up and running here. Both streams should be live. We've got about 40 seconds until it closes, so we'll take a look at the closing price here for the market shortly. Let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for March 17th, 2022. Q's up about 1%. SPY up about 1.1, IWM 1.5. They all look very similar. A bit of a grind today, grind higher up into that daily resistance there. Now, coming into today, right, we were anticipating the bullish bias with the understanding that if we take out yesterday's low, then we're all out bearish, right? That was kind of, for me, that was the easiest, most clear-cut way to have a bias, okay, is that if we took that out, you know, hourly, daily, back in alignment, and we are lower, okay? But that's not what we did, and it also, because we spent so much time talking about this hourly uptrend, kind of tells you I'm kind of expecting that we're not going to do that, and that really what we're going to be dealing with is still a little bit of conflict between the daily and the hourly. So as you can see here on the daily, ignore all this stuff that has been drawn on here to just illustrate the trend. Just ignore all of that and just follow the one yellow line, which is the moving average, telling you, okay, we've been in a downtrend. Okay, now we're trying to break above it. Have we broke above it before? Yes, we have, even there, just by a little bit. Okay, that doesn't mean the trend is over. The yellow line is not some magic line that is perfect, that is necessarily resistance, but it is a good approximation of the current trend. Okay, so we've been in a downtrend on the daily here for the last few months. Now, we are transitioning higher. We had a very bullish move and a very bullish end to yesterday. Okay, and we also noted yesterday some of the sectors that have been really weak, like the Chinese ADRs, had been showing relative strength. So that's showing a little bit more stability on something that had been weighing on the Qs. Okay. So coming into today, we were watching for any kind of pullback, breakout. What does it look like? If we take out these lows, then we don't need to look for any bullish patterns. Okay. But we continued higher. We held up. Okay. And I wouldn't have expected us to even kind of rip higher, because yesterday was a pretty decent sized bar. We've had some really big bars as of late. Okay. But still, yesterday's bar was a pretty significant move. Just 2 to 3% move in a really short span of time here on the Qs, from this drop to all the way back up, right? So after moves like that, we do expect a more narrow range, and today was kind of on the narrow side, just a grind higher. Okay, so going into tomorrow and into next week, I am bullish. Okay, it's going to be the monthly here and the hourly sandwiching this daily downtrend that we still have, but I think the daily downtrend is definitely being threatened to be broken. Okay, SPY, you can see, right, is much closer to doing that. Now, once it breaks above this pivot, we are no longer in a daily downtrend on the SPY, and then we would have alignment again on the SPY across the daily, the hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, that would be the confirmation that we would need to be all out bullish. Okay, so you could put it another way. You know, I think probably the bottom is in for now. For the short term, you know, we would have to see kind of what this follow through looks like. But I'm going with, yeah, the SPY has put in a short term bottom. Okay, so daily's trying to transition. 20 MA still pointing down, but you know, we're well above it, and we're about to take out that pivot to the left. Okay. All right. So bullish going into tomorrow and Monday. All right, let's go over the plays from today. Very first play was the MULN. All right, gave it to you as a 2-minute high-low, just over this bar, and then stop underneath it. Just a 2-minute high-low. I like this gap a lot. Played it on this day. Made some on that day. I don't remember exactly how well it worked, but I know I played along on that day. Playing it again here, transitioning on the daily. Okay, room up above on the MULN. Okay, so that was the first play. Very difficult to hold because this did not look good as it was grinding lower. And I even said as much when I was on the mic that I kind of want to kill this thing. It's basically at break even. But I've been doing a really good job lately of managing plays, not letting kind of knee-jerk reactions or emotional decisions like that kind of steer me wrong. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to let it play out. I'll trail it once the hourly finishes forming. I don't love it because it's still at 204, which is not much better than my original stop under 199. But that's what I'm going to do. And then eventually it did trail, but was able to get a couple R's out of the front portion, though, as it broke the high of the day here. And then the back half just trailed off the hourly for, I think, about an hour. So an hour and a half. But, you know, the difference between, you know, an hour and a half and a break-even play is not so much the money itself, but the knowing that I knew what I was supposed to do and I didn't do it. Okay. That would have been, the cost of doing something like that. So that was fine. MULN would have been nice if it worked better right away, of course, but sometimes these things take time. Now the daily is really nice, you know, so you just need a little bit more time to get going there. Okay, that was the MULN. Next play, ORPH. ORPH gave you the call on this. Now, this ended up being a high-low, not really a nice, clean, tight one. Ended up putting all of this together, and then we played as it broke over the highs, and then gave another buy setup. If you had played this actually would have been a much better reward to risk play here to have played that. But that's not I didn't know that was going to set up, so I got in it right here as it was breaking. Did have to live through that little bit of a pullback. Then we took half of it here on the first pop. I actually had an order, limit order at 99 because that was target one just right before $1, and I did not get filled. So then when it came in, I got it out at like 94, 93 because we trailed it. Okay. So that was the first portion that came out on this initial breakout. And then I just stuck with it until just about the end of the day there. We took some more on this at first, on this pop here, and then trailed it to under this 15-minute inside bar. Okay. So not a huge play on the ORPH, but again, you know, I think management-wise, I don't think this was really challenging at all to manage. Once I put the stop at 84, it just never touched it, and then I just didn't look at it anymore. And then once it started popping, then I was like, okay, we're going to retest high of the day. Let's look to take some. I really was hoping we'd be able to break $1, okay? And if we broke $1, definitely would want to be in it. So, you know, that's why I was a little bit not as aggressive in taking the whole thing up here. In hindsight, that looks like that was the answer. $1 was just a resistance level it could not break, that whole number. And so that's fine, I think. Overall, I think on both these, you know, I'm not too bothered by them. I think, yeah, that's really been the strength for me. I mentioned this in the room yesterday, and I kind of referenced it again today, that management has really been kind of what's been the best aspect of my trading lately. There have been some really big plays that I've missed on or passed on. And fortunately, you know, just still the plays that I am picking, if I manage them correctly, are still working. But, I mean, stuff like this QSI, breakout into lunch, right, was a nice play. Very tight stop here on the QSLI. I think we looked at the NLOK yesterday. Passed on it because the daily was into support, but this didn't care. You know, a very tight base breakdown here, and actually one right before it I think might have been even better by a little bit. Okay, so you know, passing on these things and then watching them kind of turn into pretty good plays, but you know, it's okay as long as I have a reason to pass on them. I know why I pass on them. It's a valid reason. You try not to kind of beat yourself up about it too much, but you know, no one likes identifying a play, you know, figuring out what the entry, the stop, and then deciding, okay, you know what, there's not enough reward to risk, or it's too extended, or whatever, and then watching it work really well, right? Nobody likes that, but I think you just, as long as you're honest with yourself, had a reason for passing on it, you just let it go, right? On to the next thing. And, you know, both these plays, MULN, you know, ORPH, are things that, you know, I felt like the daily was too good, the setup was valid, that they had to be played. So, and it's just because these weren't home runs, there's nothing necessarily that I need to not do with these, or, you know, whatever. It's not that. It's just, yeah, there's some other plays out there that I think could have been done, and would have worked even better. All right. So anyway, that's gonna do it for today's market wrap. All right, bullish going into tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.